A train is traveling toward Chicago. Captain Coulter Stevens, an Army pilot, awakens on the train, disoriented as to where he is. Christina starts to speak to him and refers to him as Sean. He looks around the train, distracted by every movement, so he doesn't even respond to the conductor when he requests his ticket. Coulter is jittery with Christina as well when she attempts to help him find his ticket. She asks him why he's behaving so oddly, but Coulter tells her that he doesn't recognize her. He stands up and steps outside momentarily, trying to figure out where he is, but he returns to his seat next to Christina. Suddenly, he sees his reflection in the window, showing a different face. Coulter goes to the restroom and looks at himself in the mirror, seeing someone entirely different. He opens the wallet and sees the same person there. Christina is waiting for him outside the restroom. He tells her that he neither knows Sean nor her. Suddenly, the train detonates. Coulter awakens in a different location, hearing a female voice informing him that he's with Beleaguered Castle and asking if he's operational. He's still disoriented and can't respond to any of the questions the disembodied voice is posing. The voice only wants to know what occurred on the train and the source of the explosion. Coulter inquires about her identity, and she appears on a monitor in front of him, telling Coulter that he already knows that. She informs him that they will reconstruct his memory pattern and initiates a mnemonic procedure. The woman reads him a passage while corresponding visuals appear on the screen. Coulter isn't paying attention and is attempting to free himself from the seat as the woman continues with the exercises. Suddenly, he recalls parts of the exercise and repeats back what he had heard earlier. She asks for her name, and Coulter refers to her as Goodwin. Dr. Rutledge briefly appears on the monitor, checking something, then Coulter requests to speak with his father. Goodwin interrupts him and continues to question him about the bomb on the train. She tells him that Christina referring to him by another name is incidental. He doesn't know who planted the bomb, so Goodwin informs him that he will return to the situation for 8 minutes once more. Coulter suspects that he's in a simulation, but Goodwin will not provide him with any details about his condition. She simply insists that he discover more information about the train. Find the bomb, and you find the bomber. Coulter is back on the train. Christina tells him that she has submitted her resignation at work and will be taking the LSAT. He hears a soda can being opened, and a woman spills coffee on his shoe. Coulter remarks that it's the same train but somehow different, which Christina interprets as a profound statement. He sets a timer on his watch and comments that everything appears so realistic, still believing he's in a simulation. Coulter looks around for the potential bomber and leaps over to a man, asking how long the delay will be. The man makes a joke, and Christina remarks that he's a comedian. He surveys the train, looking for anything unusual, and observes a student returning someone's wallet. Coulter steps back onto the train and recalls that the explosion originated from behind him. He enters the restroom and examines it. Coulter notices that the vent has been altered and opens it, ultimately discovering the bomb. He starts communicating with Goodwin, believing she can hear him and guide him on the next steps with the bomb. Coulter leaves the bomb as he found it and comes up with another idea for locating the bomber. He returns to the car, falsely claims to be transit security, and says there has been a security breach, instructing everyone to stop using their electronic devices. No one really believes him, and when he notices a man still using his laptop, he closes it for him and breaks his jaw. Christina rushes to the man to assist him, and Coulter says not to worry because neither he nor she are real. The train detonates, and he returns. Goodwin tells him to stabilize and reduce his pulse. She inquires if he located the bomb, and he confirms that he did, but Coulter requests to speak with Dr. Rutledge since he has figured out that he is her superior officer. Coulter believes he was in Afghanistan just 2 days prior, but Goodwin says it was actually 2 months. He's still bewildered, but he responds to her questions about the train. She tells him that he's not in a simulation, but that real lives are at risk. Coulter wants to learn more before he can proceed with the mission. Goodwin asks Rutledge if she can share any information, and when he confirms that she can, Goodwin reveals that the train he was on had already exploded that morning and that additional attacks of this nature are planned. Sean Fentress was on that train, and Coulter has assumed his identity. He doesn't grasp it fully yet, but she continues pressing for information. Coulter informs her where he discovered the bomb and what type of detonator it used. Goodwin explains that the explosion was intended to occur simultaneously with the passage of a freight train, destroying both vehicles. The bomber must have been positioned close enough to observe when that would happen in order to detonate the bomb. She instructs him to focus on the passengers on his train and to perform only the tasks she has assigned him. They send him back. Coulter awakens on the train in the midst of the same conversation. The woman spills coffee on Christina's shoes, and she is very polite about it, which Coulter comments on. He now believes she is genuine. Coulter asks the conductor about the behavior of the passengers on the train, and the man replies that he is the one acting strangely. He then asks Christina if anyone looks suspicious to her, tells her to sit next to him, and suggests thinking of it as a game. She jokes about all the people in the car, naturally not taking him seriously, noting that he knows the people better than she does because he talks to them all the time. Suddenly, Coulter notices a man exiting the restroom, and Christina remarks that they are heading into racial profiling. She mentions that he is the only other person she has seen coming out of there, which makes him pause for a moment. Coulter examines Sean's belongings, but only finds her name in his notebook. He decides to pursue the man he saw earlier and has Christina accompany him. Coulter instructs her to wait outside the station while he follows the man into the restroom. He hears the man becoming ill in a stall and examines him, making him quite uneasy. The man exits with Coulter trailing him. Coulter approaches him at the bench where he is sitting and asks to borrow his phone. The man requests to be left alone and departs when Coulter assaults him, persistently demanding to see his phone. Suddenly, the bomb detonates, and Coulter suspects that the man might be the bomber. Not entirely convinced, he pursues him again, but the man pushes him onto the tracks. Coulter fails to get up in time and is struck by an approaching bus. The place feels icy and starts to shut down. The person working with Goodwin informs her that he's in trouble. They then both go to see Rutledge, who tells them that no one has ever been in a situation like his before and that they should continue sending signals to him and see if he responds to any of them. Meanwhile, Coulter discovers a toolkit and manages to restore the power in his location. He starts hearing distorted voices as Rutledge sits at Goodwin's computer. Coulter hears her reciting the passage to him and calls out to her just as Rutledge is about to leave. The doctor speaks to him, telling him that he created the device he is inside and confirms that he is in charge. As Coulter mentions that he saved a passenger from the train, Goodwin returns and resumes the conversation. She tells him that saving the people on the train is beyond his mission scope. Coulter insists that she survived, but Rutledge explains that she survived only in the source code. When Coulter asks what that means, Rutledge attempts to simplify it for him. Source code is not a time travel machine, but something more akin to time reassignment. He can only return there and report on what he has witnessed in a sort of parallel reality through the perspective of Sean Fentress, who is his connection. Coulter insists that he saved someone, so Goodwin asks for her name and searches for her online. She informs Coulter that Christina died that morning on the train. He still doesn't comprehend, but they need to send him back again because there is a second suspected attack in downtown Chicago. They believe that this time the attackers might deploy a dirty bomb, prompting the city's evacuation. The military thinks that if he can identify who bombed the train, the second attack might be averted. Before they send him back, Goodwin informs him about a handgun he can find on the train. She authorizes him to use any necessary force. When Coulter awakens on the train, he is deeply disappointed to see Christina there. They converse briefly, and it becomes evident that he is gradually falling in love with her. Coulter has a mission, and he rises to accomplish it. He searches for the gun, and finds it exactly where Goodwin indicated it would be. Unfortunately, the conductor catches him accessing the safe with the gun. He points the gun at Coulter when the second conductor electrocutes him. Coulter wakes up on the train once more, only to find Christina beside him, asking what he was doing. He is unsure how to explain and knows he's running out of time. So he asks her what she would do if she had only 1 minute left to live. Coulter says he would call his father and apologize. Christina reassures him that everything will be all right as the bomb detonates on the train again. Before he awakens in the other place, Coulter experiences strange visions involving Christina. He tells Goodwin that the gun wasn't the best approach, and that he wants to speak to his father. She dismisses his request, saying she will try to arrange that. Coulter asks her how he is faring because he doesn't understand the process. She steps aside to show him where he is being kept and informs him that she hasn't been on the other side of the source code because the specifications are extremely narrow for a viable candidate. Goodwin doesn't want to waste any more time, and after assuring him that he's doing well, she sends him back to search through the passengers' belongings. Coulter returns to the train and gets to it more swiftly. He reveals the military patch that Goodwin had shown him when Christina approaches him. Coulter asks her to look for his friend who vanished in Afghanistan and provides her with his real name for the search. Suddenly, he becomes wary of a man talking on the phone. He approaches the man and rummages through his bag, searching for something. Coulter notices that a woman has a bag from an Army medical center and goes over to speak with her. He inquires about the letters on the patch. She tells him that it represents the Air Force and that the N stands for Nellis. Coulter asks her for her phone and calls Nellis Air Force Base. He asks for Rutledge and instructs the operator to inform him that Captain Coulter Stevens is calling. Christina finds him and informs him that the friend he asked her to search for is deceased, killed in action 2 months ago. Suddenly, Coulter experiences some memories from Afghanistan and hears Goodwin's voice again, guiding him through the mnemonic exercises. When he awakens in the other place, he immediately asks Goodwin if he's dead. He tells her that he found an article online confirming that, as well as that his father received a medal on his behalf. She tells him that he needs to concentrate on the train and that everything else is irrelevant. Coulter insists on knowing more, and Goodwin reveals part of the truth. She explains that part of his brain is still active, but his body is a projection. Coulter asks if he is imagining that he is in the capsule, and the capsule starts to disintegrate. She confirms that the capsule is also a projection, but does not disclose where his actual body is being kept. Rutledge intervenes, stating that they need to send him back to the train so he can prevent another attack. Coulter still disagrees with the way the source code operates, and tells Rutledge that he called him from the train that morning. The doctor responds that he didn't receive that call, and if he had, it would have been from an alternate reality. The Rutledge who would have received that call would be an entirely different Rutledge. Coulter needs further persuasion, so the doctor explains that the project was authorized by a military tribunal. Additionally, he tells the Air Force captain that many other soldiers would prefer this opportunity over death, having the chance to continue serving their country. Coulter replies that, for many soldiers, one death is service enough. Rutledge assures him that he will allow him to die if he completes the mission. Before sending him back to the train, Rutledge emphasizes that 2 million Americans depend on the success of their mission, and if he doesn't value his own life, he should value theirs. Rutledge then continues to send Coulter back to the train repeatedly with no rest period in between. He tells the soldier that they will continue this process until he identifies the bomber. Coulter asserts that he can't do it, and Rutledge manipulates him into getting to the location he needs Coulter to reach. Rutledge plays a recording of Coulter's father giving an interview after his death, expressing regret that they never truly understood each other. Coulter instructs Rutledge to send him back in. Coulter returns to the train and heads straight for the gun and the bomb. He removes the detonator phone from the bomb and dials the only number in its call log. A man answers as Coulter moves through the train. He tells the man to turn around, but the individual in front of him hears and turns. Coulter sits next to him and threatens him with the gun, insisting that he can't kill anyone. The man swears that he was speaking to his wife, so Coulter makes him call the number again. Suddenly, another phone rings, and the man apologizes. Coulter hears the phone ringing outside and follows the man. He sees him putting his wallet back on the train and finally learns his name, Derek Frost. The doors close, so he opens them with the emergency handle and leaps off to pursue him. Coulter sees him enter a white van and approaches him. He shows Derek the phone, but Derek pretends not to recognize it. Coulter, however, knows it's him, so he reveals the second bomb inside the van. He examines the bomb and asks Derek where his next target is when Catherine arrives. Derek shoots them both. Coulter remains alive, so Derek delivers his entire rationale for the attacks. He explains that the world is a hellhole that needs to be rebuilt. For the world to be rebuilt, it must first be destroyed. Derek climbs into the van and leaves them behind. The bomb on the train detonates regardless. When Coulter transitions back to the capsule, he sees the images from before more clearly. As soon as he returns, he informs Goodwin and Rutledge about the bomber and the van he entered. He confirms that the second bomb is radioactive. Rutledge and Goodwin congratulate him and inform him that his mission is complete. Before they leave him, he requests to be sent back to try to save the people before he dies. Meanwhile, the military apprehends Derek Frost before he can detonate the second bomb. Rutledge receives confirmation from his superiors about his project, and Goodwin returns to speak with Coulter. He discusses the possibilities of parallel realities and what different versions of people might be like there. Goodwin explains that he only saw shadows or residual images of the people who died on the train. She tells him that he cannot change the past, but Coulter insists that there was a failsafe on the explosive that he hadn't noticed before and that she is mistaken. Coulter begs her to send him back in without authorization and then deactivate him. She hesitates but ultimately agrees, telling him that at the end of his source code, she will terminate his life support. Coulter assures her that he will save Christina. Goodwin says it has been an honor and wishes him good luck. Coulter returns to the train for the final time. He asks Christina out for coffee, and she eagerly agrees. Coulter requests a few minutes to save the world. He quickly heads towards the bomb and removes the first and second detonators. He then encounters Derek and takes the conductor's handcuffs. While the source code is active, Rutledge receives more positive feedback from his superiors as Goodwin enters his office. He instructs her to erase Coulter's memory and prepare him for a new source code. Rutledge intends to prevent Coulter's death despite Goodwin's objections. Back on the train, Coulter prevents Derek from exiting and cuffs him to a bar. He shows Derek the phone and contacts the police, detailing everything about Derek and the radioactive bomb in the van. Coulter takes his phone and leaves him behind. He sends an email to Goodwin from his phone and calls his father. Coulter tells him that he's a friend and, before he dies, wanted to express his apologies. Meanwhile, Goodwin goes to the location where his body is being kept and opens the chamber, observing the condition it is in. Coulter's father tells him that he wishes he had told him that he loved him. He says that he knows it. Coulter returns to Christina. Rutledge receives a call that Goodwin is with Coulter. He requests MPs to join him at Coulter's chamber and tries to unlock the door. Goodwin waits for Coulter's 8 minutes to expire. On the train, Coulter asks Christina what she would do if she had less than a minute to live. She replies that she would make those seconds count. Coulter kisses her. Goodwin switches off his life support, and the MPs rush inside only to find Coulter's lifeless body. Back on the train, the explosion never occurs. Coulter reassures Christina that everything will be all right. They take a walk to the Chicago Bean, and Coulter realizes that the visions he had during the transitions were of that same moment.